Well, hello again, folks, gents, dames, all you wonderful people out there. Denny is back in the Jeep with another video. It is Saturday evening. I am just in Sherwood Park, Alberta, which is a suburban area, or it's actually a kind of like a separate city to Edmonton, just down the freeway about 20 minutes or so. It's kind of like it's kind of like attached city or town, kind of like Fort Worth is to Dallas, or Burnaby is to Vancouver, or Mississauga is to Toronto, on a smaller scale, of course. But Edmonton metro area. I'm just outside of the Sherwood Park Center Mall, and I was just doing some work in the area, and I thought I'd stop by here and shoot a video since I was in this neighborhood. There's also a Shoppers Drug Mart here, which is kind of like Canada's version of CVS, and I figure I pick up a couple things. But the other reason is, let me just show you the mall parking lot. Now, what I find interesting about this mall, and I don't know if it's just a vibe or it's just me being out to lunch or taking crazy pills, but this parking lot and kind of sort of the way the mall is built reminds me a little bit of Twin Pines Mall, from Back to the Future. Yeah, it's just kind of the parking lot and how it's sloped, and then you have like the retaining wall, and then you have like a grassy area that exits out to the street, kind of where Marty would skateboard onto and then come down. And this is where the DeLorean, we first see the time machine DeLorean, and all fun and hell breaks loose after that. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting. I don't know, it could just be a vibe I'm getting. But anyways, back to me. So yeah, I am just gonna mount this here. Sorry about the noise. Still got some sunlight coming in, even though it's like 8:20 in the evening. Yeah, yesterday was Friday night. It was the Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Oilers and Florida Panthers. Another overtime. The Oilers lost this one, so now we're at 1-1. The Oilers won the first game. And it got me thinking about competition and what it means to humans, and why it's so important, and why in some aspects we really hate it and it sucks. A lot of heartbreak results from it, a lot of pain and suffering, because we're competing with others and we don't always win. We can't always win, and life lessons are learned from competition and from life experience and getting out there and competing. Now, the sports part of it is interesting because there's a lot of like parallels, and you could pull metaphors from sports and real life as far as competition goes. And I've always been fascinated with that. Now, the competition in this Stanley Cup final is extremely intense and fierce, and it makes you think about how far some people are willing to go to win, and how seriously people take these competitions, whether it's sports or competing for a job or a position or a promotion, moving up the corporate ladder, competing for a relationship, a woman or a man, if you're a woman that's in competition with other women for a certain guy you're pining for. And yeah, it's just kind of all over the place. We're always competing. Competition even happens on a microbiology level. From what I understand, it's, don't sperm like compete with each other and fight each other and push each other out of the way to get to the egg to be the one that fertilizes. So yeah, it's happening at all kinds of levels. And of course the animal kingdom, they're literally killing each other to either get to mate or to eat, to survive. And at some level we're competing to survive for resources, for food, and whether we're conscious of it or not, that's kind of what's happening. Oh, the water tastes better when you're a little bit hungover. Yeah, I had yesterday, of course, was kind of crazy. We were out drinking because of the hockey game and stuff, and turning into more of a lightweight. I could only have a few drinks, but I think that's actually a good thing, because I'm glad I have kind of like a limit and a ceiling so I don't go overboard. I think it's like 5 or 6, and it's kind of my maximum. I can't. There's these guys out there that are crushing like 12 beers in a night. I just can't believe it. I don't know what that would do to my body if I feel shitty after like 5 or 6. But maybe that's a good sign that I am not able to put that much poison in me through a 5 or 6 hour period. But yeah, we had a good time. The fans are amazing out here, and hockey is like a religion out here. So yeah, you can imagine it gets pretty intense and crazy, and it's mostly good fun. Although there's heartbreak and pain too when your team doesn't win. And it's interesting because we feel like we're part of the team, even though, I'm not playing for Edmonton, and neither are my friends or anybody watching. It's just we get emotionally attached and we get invested, whether it's time or money or emotion. And yeah, we just we feel a certain type of way if we win or lose. And can imagine that feeling is 10 or 20 times greater if you're actually the competitor out there on the ice. And yeah, whether it's hockey or NBA finals or any sport, you're really putting a lot on the line. Your pride, your ego, your just all the work you put in and the time you spent, and then to not get the result is obviously painful. And somebody's glory and triumph are somebody else's pain and disappointment, and that goes through all aspects of life. And it's with like job and career stuff, for example. I wouldn't say I like intensely competed for for business or anything like that, but I don't mind being at least somewhat of a competitor, like as far as like I'm a locksmith, and I always trying to get like new clients. Although I have loyal clients, I don't need too many more. But in some ways I I am afraid of stepping on toes or kind of crossing the line ethically and stuff, so I kind of overcorrect and I go too much the other way. But I'll still compete. If I, like, for example, if there's a client that's using a different locksmith, and then something happens where they're not sure they want to use them anymore, or they're unavailable, and I happen to be in there as opportunity to kind of prove myself. And even when I worked for the bigger company before I worked for myself, I wouldn't have trouble like taking them away from a competitor, like taking the client away, but I wouldn't try to force it or do anything sneaky. I would just try to do a really good job and put out a competitive rate, and just be more polite and personable and helpful, kind of go the extra mile, go a little bit above and beyond to retain that client, and then maybe they don't go back to their original locksmith. So that level of competing I don't have a problem with. I don't feel bad for doing that. It is a business, and this is capitalism, and it is what it is. So I don't mind that. But where I've had trouble, where I don't feel comfortable, where I feel like it's maybe a bridge too far, is like, trying to kind of shit talk or say stuff about another company to manipulate the client into staying with me, or making up some story, or over promising and under delivering, or doing some kind of bait and switch thing. Like that kind of shit I don't agree with. It's not within my moral compass. Some people are okay with it. They feel like all bets are off, and only the strong survive, and it's only cheating if you get caught, and all that kind of stuff. And that's funny, because it's also like it also mirrors a little bit what goes on in sports competition, like in the hockey finals here. There's some guys that are really like play on that edge and do things that I would consider sneaky, a little bit dirty, a little bit unethical, and just kind of push the line and sometimes cross it, but just kind of straddle that that fence of being a little bit dirty and questionable tactics, questionable ethics. Yeah, so that happens in sports and in real life. And and it's something you just have to deal with, and know that there's people like that are gonna cross the line. And that's why I feel that on some things, I've may have underachieved, or maybe there's certain things that I could have got better results in that if I had played a little dirtier, or pushed a little harder, whatever it is, been a little more aggressive against my competitors. Yeah, so that's something I struggle with in my mind. You have a conscience as well, and you gotta live with that, and there's integrity that is important as well. Am I gonna sacrifice that for a little bit of success? I don't know. And I don't know long term if that catches up to people, or kind of interesting to think about. But yeah, competition's healthy. It keeps you on your toes. It helps you to kind of lets you know it's important to better yourself, and you can learn from experiences with competing, as with if you don't compete. If you just kind of stand to the sidelines and don't do anything, or just do the bare minimum, then of course you're not gonna progress or evolve, or achieve bigger and better things. So yeah, I'm struggled with that. I've not always was the guy who didn't want to step on any toes or ruffle any feathers and make people upset, and it's kind of been a detriment. Like, it's been unbeneficial for a lot of things in my life. I wish I'd not been so sensitive and careful sometimes, kind of overcorrected. And yeah, that's something I've learned from and still learning. It just never ends. And I guess like where I struggle the most, like where it's been the most tricky, most challenging, has been with the opposite sex, like attracting women and competing with other guys. And of course, if you're watching, you're like, well, yeah, that kind of a given. Like that's a big part of it, is competing with other men. It'd be kind of fun and easy if there was no competition. But then maybe you wouldn't value what you had as much, when you've outcompeted or bested somebody else, then that kind of reflects better on you. But I've always had trouble with competing with other guys. It's mostly from a place of insecurity. Like I've always been unsure of myself and haven't been the most confident. So like in there's like the hockey arena competition, the sports analogy, and then there's like something like bars and clubs where people still go a little bit to meet women, not as much anymore, and especially not at my age. I don't do it as much. I'm a bit too old to frequent these places, although there's some exceptions. There's some places that it can still go on for people my age. But yeah, even there's usually the ratio is unfavorable to a guy, and it's always more dudes than women. So you do have to compete with other guys to get anywhere, and I've always found that difficult. I've always like I say, just felt like I was inadequate, like I wasn't good enough. If there was a certain guy that I can kind of size up and see that he had more going for him than I did, I would just assume that the woman was probably gonna pick him and not really be interested. And I kind of aware of my limitations, and I've always struggled with confidence, and I haven't been the strongest person. Haven't been able to fight for myself fairly well. Like for most of my life, I wasn't very good at that. Sticking up for myself, I got better at, but I wasn't very good when I was younger. I would get, I get pushed around, and not just physically, but I was didn't have a very commanding presence, and I wasn't confident in these bigger social situations, especially when there was like male competition for females in these clubs or bars or anything like that. And then there's of course online, which is probably even worse. I really don't even bother anymore, just because I feel like I wouldn't be up near the top where all the guys get the results. Yeah, it's just like I've always been kind of insecure and felt like a little bit of a loser sometimes. And and I just always kind of assumed that the girl would had better options, and like, why would she pick me? I have issues, and I'm not the strongest guy and all that. And I was always like just kind of hoping that there wouldn't be a lot of guys around, and then I can kind of get away with just being me, and maybe they would accept that. But so that's been the hardest part as far as competition, is just competing with other guys for women. But when it became when it's about competing with other guys for like other stuff, like I mentioned earlier about business or job or career stuff, I don't seem to have a problem there. So I don't know why I can't apply that to dating. um, the competition in dating. Because if there's competition everywhere, I mean, it's like, how would I not learn to deal with that? I don't know. I still got to figure that one out. I'm trying to improve myself, but it's just like there's always somebody that's just has more than me, and it's kind of hard to get over that hump and figure it out. It's like I always felt small, in that realm, in that arena. And I've had some experiences in the past where I was kind of pushed around, like verbally, and I think I've maybe tried to compete before but lost, and then I felt bad and I felt ashamed and I was ridiculed, and I don't want to like go through that again, and so I don't even try now to get in there as much. And especially with getting older, I feel even less valuable now than I did. Like, if I want to date someone that's a little bit younger, that's pretty tough. Like, unless they're into the older guys, but that's something I have to just have to get out there more and just try, I guess. That's why I always thought, like, I think that this year in the summer, now that it's getting warmer, I'm spending more time outside and going to parks. And when I go on these hikes and walks and stuff and hanging out in parks or places like that, or even like festivals or whatever, there could be women that I could approach and talk to that in areas or environments where competition isn't really that big of a thing. It's not nearly as intense like as in the bar, when it's like literally like this hypersexual environment, and guys are just like alpha-ing each other and pushing each other aside and really competing hard just for like a female's attention. It's not like that if a girl's sitting alone in a park or something and she's just maybe tanning or reading a book or just hanging out, maybe say hi, and if she feels comfortable chatting, sit down and chat. If not, then just walk away. But just stuff like that might be better. There's no guys around, and provided she's not on like dating apps at the same time, then it's like, well, she's got all these options, right? And then you're kind of like this average guy. So the percentages are probably low, but I don't know, she might be cool and like might hate dating apps as well, and then hit it off. You have something in common. Maybe she appreciates the approach in public, and she doesn't go to bars and clubs or anything, so she might be having a hard time meeting a guy, and that's all it would take. But yeah, I just thought I'd be completely honest about that. Competition is just something really that I've had a hard time with, struggled with, and gotten better at, especially with work and career stuff. But with dating, not so much. I've actually gotten worse. Like I was more keen and more of a how do you say it? More game to be a participant in the in that arena of the competition and dating when I was younger. It was a certain like window of time, from late 20s to like late 30s is when I was doing the best and I was out there competing and stuff. But early 20s, I was definitely shy and afraid of people, and now in my 40s, like mid 40s, I'm not really afraid, but it's just like I feel more inadequate and less valuable now, and I'm trying to get over that mental hurdle with that. So for those guys watching, let me know if you feel the same, if you've kind of noticed that. It's pretty prevalent, I think. I think doubts start creeping in, and you don't know how much time you have left and how much value you have left in the market. And that's actually another interesting correlation to sports, because the being in your prime, like as a NHLer, you have like a very small window. Like it's in your early 20s, you're still not experienced yet, so you're not a top player. Then you peak in like your mid 20s, and maybe you're in your prime in your late 20s. And then by the time you're 35, it starts to like kind of go down, and by the time you hit 40, most players are kind of retiring at that point, or they've kind of gone down. They actually have to take cuts in salary because they don't produce as much. So it might be similar in dating, where there's like a kind of a optimal time where you're at a high value and you can do well, and then it drops off quickly after that. Could also explain the divorces, like why women file for divorce. Usually, when the guy's a bit older, like maybe 40 is like too young for that, but I notice a lot of guys in their 50s get divorced. So I don't know, maybe a lot of guys in their 40s as well. So yeah, or just like get dumped or whatever. But yeah, that's a tricky one too, because like sometimes older is better, right? Like you have more experience, you have more going on. Maybe some women like guys that are a little bit older, and guys that have that wisdom, that knowledge, the experience, probably in a better, like higher status, better position in life, and can teach them things and have more shit to talk about and more life experience to share. And I think a lot of women maybe enjoy that, especially for like maybe a longer term relationship. Or it could just be a fetish for older guys. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff going on out there. Younger guys like older women like younger guys. I don't know what's going on anymore. All I know is competition's still fierce. It's a gauntlet out there. It's a bunch of vultures pecking on one piece of meat. And it's up to you whether you want to participate in that or not. Now, not all life is competition. There's things that you can enjoy without that being a burden on you, like walks outside, fresh air, nature, reading a book, going to a movie, enjoying your favorite TV shows, having hobbies, and watching sports competitions. And the reason we watch, I think that's also ingrained in our human experience, because our ancestors fought hard for resources and food. And, we enjoy watching people compete because it touches something deep within us as humans. And, we get attached and we cheer on our team, just like we, cheer on our country in a war, or cheer on, your favorite political party or whatever it is. It's just competition at all different levels. And, we feel a certain type of way if we win, and a different type of way if we lose. Usually affects us mentally and emotionally. And that's kind of what makes it interesting. And that's why millions of people watch sports and watch people fight for something. And when they win something, it means a lot more. Winning a championship, it wouldn't mean anything if it wasn't a result of a lot of blood, sweat, tears, pain, a lifetime of hard work, practice, mastering a skill, God-given talent. All those things come together. And then as humans, we are intrigued about who's the best and who wins out in the end. And we get entertainment out of it, but we also get something deeper, I think. And that's definitely connected to our spirit and our fighting nature that we have within us. So very intriguing stuff, and something I want to look into more. Why we compete, or how necessary is it? And of course, let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any wisdom or want anything to add, I'm sure there's a lot more you can add that I haven't touched on. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please leave a like, it helps the channel. Leave a comment, leave a question. Let me know if you agree, disagree. I have a PayPal donation link if you want to support a small YouTube channel like mine, help us grow. And I also have super thanks option for donation in the comments. And thanks for all who have been on this journey with me now for coming up on 4 months, and it's been fun. It's been challenging. I've stumbled a bit. This video here is a little bit disjointed, but that's just kind of been the style lately, and I'm a bit tired still with a little bit of a hangover. And just trying to get these videos out, whether in spite of how I'm feeling or what my state is. So thank you once again. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. And like I say, leave your thoughts, and I appreciate you watching. God bless you once again. If you can't be with the one you love, love the one you with. God bless you. Peace, Denny. Goodbye.